One of the main selling points in Forsaken is how many skins there are in the game. Obviously, the main focus of the game is the gameplay, but there's also a huge focus on the skins. One of the best parts about the skins in this game is just how many there are. It gives people who have everything unlocked something else to grind for. And you don't even have to gamble for the skins, which even some of my favorite games still do. The fact that you can just buy almost any skin at any time you want, rather than having to open a skin crate to get a random skin, already makes the skin system in this game better than most games out there. And let me tell you, they definitely knew their audience, because there's also skins for sweats who constantly play this game to grind for. This really shows the positive sides of skins in this game though, since grinding for all of the main content in this game doesn't take that long. Players will often look for side content that's plentiful and fun to grind for, and when you don't have to gamble with skin crates to get the skin that you want, it's a pretty enjoyable grind for side content. Of course, the cosmetic system in this game is not perfect. I do think that cosmetic should have a different currency than actual main content like survivors and killers, and event cosmetics should be able to be obtained somehow even after the event ended. But all in all, the cosmetic system in this game is way better than 99% of other games, so the stuff I'm complaining about are more or less minor gripes. But I feel like people often ignore the issues with the skins in this game. Sure, I may have just spent the first part of this video praising the skin system in this game, but there's definitely a negative side to it. And yes, I will try not to spend the whole video complaining about the fact that there's a femtanol skin in the game. Dear God. Remember how I talked about there's a lot of skins in this game? Well, in reality, that's a double-edged sword. Sure, there are so many skins that there's plenty of extra content that could last you forever, but at the same time, since the devs are focusing so much on side content, that leads to a lack of actual main content, like survivors and killers. Think about how long we've been waiting for Noli to come out, and they're still not in the game yet. And to be brutally honest, I think Noli would have came out a while ago if the devs didn't focus so much time and effort into making skins. It's no secret that the developers are putting a lot of effort into the skins, as we can see how high quality they are. Cool Kid's Pretty skin and John Doe's Annihilation skin are possibly the highest quality skins we've gotten so far. But couldn't the effort put into those skins be put into actually new content that isn't purely aesthetic and actually adds to the main aspect of the game, which is indeed the gameplay? It's absurd to think about how many upcoming characters have been teased to us. Just go on the Forsaken wiki and you'll see how many survivors and killers they're planning to add, but just haven't yet due to them focusing too much on purely cosmetic content. It's also absurd to think about how many avatars I've seen of Forsaken characters that aren't even in the game yet. The fact that we have official avatar items for characters that are practically just concepts at this point is insane, and it really just shows how much more they care about cosmetics rather than actual gameplay. I'm also aware of how often they work on insanely detailed dev killers, which is also another reason why actual content in the game often gets delayed. But still, them working way too much on the new skins is also an issue, believe me.
This is like George Orwell's book, 1984.
Anyways, up until now, I've only been talking about how skins distract the developers from making actual content, but there's also another issue that isn't as overlooked as my previous topic. Matter of fact, a lot of people in the community have pointed this out, and that issue is pay to win, and also pay to lose. Now, thanks to visible hitboxes, noticing whether or not a skin is pay to win or pay to lose is actually pretty easy in Forsaken. People were easily able to find out that Barber Jason has larger hitboxes than every other Jason skin due to visible hitboxes. But what if I told you that hitboxes aren't the only thing that change from skin to skin? And what if I told you a lot of these pay to win and pay to lose aspects of the skins don't entirely seem intentional? There are several videos talking about pay to win and pay to lose in Forsaken and what skins give certain advantages and disadvantages. But one that caught my eye the most was this one by Cursed. Basically, instead of talking about the most infamous skins like Barber Jason, they pointed out tinier details that actually affect the game a lot too. Let's take all the characters who can go partially invisible for example, that being Noob, 7n7, and also 2Time. Any skin that's more of a white or grayish color will make the player a lot harder to see than any other color when partially invisible. 7n7's dummy skin is more of a gray color, making it harder to see him than other skins do. And yes, unfortunately this means the token skin is also pay to win, but you cannot force me to wear this skin, ever. Not only this, but skins that make characters have darker attire also makes them harder to see in darker areas obviously. The majority of the Y2K skins wear darker clothes, making them harder to see than most other skins. This also goes both ways. There's a lot of skins that make characters brighter, resulting in them being easier to spot, which could be good for support characters but also makes it easier for killers to find them and inevitably kill them. Sound cues are also very important for being a survivor and also sometimes being a killer. Learning all of 1X's very specific sound cues for whatever ability he's using makes him a lot easier to manage, but an issue arises when certain skins change his sound cues, and sure, they may sound similar, but you will still be thrown off occasionally by different sound cues because of different skins. This also results in pay-to-lose skins. Skins like the engineer skin for Builderman directly impacts how well you're able to hide from the killer. You see, the engineer skin is very obviously based off the TF2 engineer, but every time one of your buildings gets broken, the engineer will play a voice line that's directly from TF2, which may seem cool considering it's a TF2 skin, but Builderman doesn't normally do this, and most of his other skins don't play voice lines either, which means you have a higher chance of the killer knowing where your position is due to the very loud voice lines playing. An easy and effective way they could change this to where it's not a pay-to-lose skin and the voice lines are still there is having the voice lines only play for you and nobody else, so then the killer can't hear where you are by your voice lines. The Silent Hill skin for Shedletsky is also another example of sound cues being changed, leading to issues. Shedletsky normally has a very loud and obvious sound cue for when he uses his sword ability, which is another reason why it sucks, but with the skin it makes the sound cue a lot more faint, resulting in the killer not being able to react to his ability as well. The Cola mascot skin for Noob also makes it harder for the killer to see when you're using your Slate skin ability. Since you have a costume that is covering your entire body except for your face, the killer can only tell if you're using the Slate skin ability by looking at your face, which is usually facing away from the killer since you're trying to run away from them. There are definitely many more examples of pay to win and pay to lose when it comes to skins in Forsaken, but I think I've covered the most major ones I want to talk about. But trust me, there's unfortunately a lot of pay to lose and pay to win in this game, and it really is just sad. There's also a small problem with how some characters are bloated with skins and other characters severely lack skins. For example, Shedletsky easily has the most skins in the entire game, even though he's underpowered. Meanwhile, Dusakar has some of the least skins in the entire game. I don't know why the devs love giving Shedletsky several skins every update, but refuse to give more skins to characters like Taff and 7n7. To conclude, I do think there are several upsides and downsides to how many skins there are in the game. On the positive side of things, the amount of skins allows players to freely choose what they want their characters to look like to some extent, but at the same time, it distracts the developers from making actual content that isn't purely cosmetic, and also there's a lot of issues with pay to win and pay to lose skins. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time, and goodbye.